This is Boltgun, and I think this is actually one of the best Warhammer 40k games ever made. You genuinely feel like a Space Marine, and there's only one other game that's ever managed to do that, and that was Space Marine. This, though, is absolutely mental. You feel like a godlike killing machine. But let me explain the game to you, because I've completed this. Let's break it down. Oh, yeah, if you go AFK, you pull out the Codex Astartes and start reading from it. It's so good. So what is Boltgun? Well, it is a retro boomer shooter. That's what the devs are calling it. Now, it's basically inspired by Doom. If you've played Doom, think exactly the same. If you play Quake, it's that kind of shooter. Obviously, it's got a retro art style, pixelated graphics, and all of that. It might not be everyone's sort of jazz, but I'll tell you this right now, guys. They've nailed the feel of a Space Marine in this. This heavy bolter that I'm firing, these enemies which are coming towards me. And there is pretty good enemy variety as well in this game. You fight demons, you fight Chaos Space Marines, you fight hellish spawns of Nurgle. There's loads of stuff in the game. I think they've done a pretty good job with all of the different things that you get to actually murder. And they've done a really good job of the murdering, because look at this room here. Everything is just evaporated, of which it would be, because if you ran into a room like this with a heavy bolter and started shooting everything, well, then it would all explode. So that's very good. It's awesome. It's super visceral. Now, what they've nailed here is the feeling of being a Space Marine. Like I said at the top of the video, there's only one other game that's done that, and that is Space Marine. You felt like a Space Marine. Your actions have got weight to them. This game is exactly the same. When you jump from the high ground and land, big impact. It's awesome. It feels solid. When you're firing the weapons, they feel powerful. You're moving super fast. You've got a chain sword. You can slam it into... It's just great. It is so good. You can charge. It is really, really good. This game is. You feel you get that Space Marine power fantasy, and that's all this game needs to deliver. Because if you are a fan of 40k, I mean, I'm a massive Warhammer fan, but if you're a fan of 40k, this game is worth it just for that alone. Now, let's talk about how long the game actually lasts. Now, there's 3 campaigns, or 3 chapters, I guess, you play through in the campaign. It took me about 10 hours. I'll put my Steam stats up on the screen. I was playing on hard, and it was properly hard. This wasn't easy. It wasn't like I was just blasting through the enemies. The footage you guys are seeing here is from earlier on in the game. I don't really want to spoil the game. That's not really what I'm about here. I just want to kind of give you guys an overview and a review of the game, see if it's actually worth your time, if you are a fan of 40k, and hell, if you're not even a fan of 40k, if you just want to check out this game and see what it's all about, and hope this video gives you the information. So, I think we should move on to talking about the combat system, and more specifically, the weapon system. So the weapon system itself is quite simple. Now, this is paying homage to the tabletop, because what you've got is strength on each weapon and toughness of the enemies. Now, if you look at this chosen champion, can you see his health bar at the top of the screen? He's 5 toughness, so I'm shooting him with a bolter that was below 5 toughness, so it wasn't doing a lot of damage to him. So if I use the plasma gun, which is strength 7, and he's only toughness 5, well, I'm going to do more damage to him. This is really elegant. It's really simple. Obviously, if you're a fan of the tabletop, you'll understand this straight away. But I like this. You know, it goes back to that thing of like when you pull out the Codex Astartes when you go AFK. It's just cool. Like, you can tell this has been made by people that are fans of Warhammer 40k. It's so good. You can also just taunt the enemy. So you can run around taunting the enemy before you kill them. This is so metal. This is so 40k. I love it, because it's just over the top, isn't it, the universe? But it's crazy. Look. Okay, not if this planet stands, so long as you die. Okay, it's cheesy. I love it. The voice acting's cheesy as well. The Emperor demands your life. It's just so good. Like, it's just... I love little things like this, because you can see the care and attention that's been put into this. It's just so much fun. So this is a retro shooter. That's what it's been self-styled as. Now, if you've played Quake, if you've played Doom, you will know about most of the systems in this game. So you've got things like armor shard pickups, you've got health shard pickups. They call them different things, like the shields are called contempt. You know, it's Warhammer 40k, right? Now, generally these drop from killing demons. You can also pick them up in the world, and of course there are little sort of trails of them to lead you to certain areas. It's exactly what you would imagine to be in a game like this. Now, there is also loads of secrets, so you can sort of find hidden doors, you can find hidden weapon power-ups, you can add strength to a weapon. These power-ups only last per level, and they don't generally persist through, well, they just don't persist through to other levels. Now, the movement in this game is what they have really nailed, and just the feel of it. So you can sprint, which is great. When you jump into the air, or you don't even have to jump into the air, but when you click and hold the melee button, you'll go into a sort of bullet time mode where you can target an enemy and then charge towards them. This is really good because that charge can sort of move you around. It's part of your movement toolkit, which is really cool. You've also got a charge as well where you can just charge straight forward and bash targets out of the way. This is particularly powerful when you're dealing with Chaos Space Marines because they tend to be quite tough, so you want to knock them out of the way, especially if it's inspiring champions. You basically don't want to be near an aspiring champion because they'll probably kill you pretty quick because they do tons of damage, and also they're just reckless berserkers, which is not great. You don't want to be near them, so you want to keep them away. But the fact is the movement is really good. It's been super nailed. It feels really polished, right? Now, I'd say the movement and weapon feel and weapon sound, and the way it looks as well, is worth the price of admission alone. Right? There are other games out there that will charge you more than this game is actually worth just for a skin that you can't even see in the game. Like, that's the state of modern gaming these days. Yet you could spend that money instead on something like this and have a cracking experience. Yeah, I know it's only for about 10 hours. I was playing on hard difficulty, maybe on the Primarch mode, which is even harder. Probably would last a little bit longer. And if you were going for every single secret, probably would take you a bit longer. Like, I was generally completing maybe 6 or 7 secrets per level, and there's about 8 or 10 on each level. So yeah, you know, there are more things I could have done, but I had a good experience for the price of the game. And just, well, I'm a Warhammer 40k fan. This is just a cracking game. So it's got a lot of your typical Doom stuff and Quake stuff. You're basically looking for color-coded key cards to gain access to different areas of each level. So these will just generally be somewhere on the map. You need to fight enemies, get to that, pick up the key card, and, well, it's just a key in this game, and then go to the correct color-coded terminal, stick the key in, and it will open a door, and then you progress through the level. That's it. There's not really much more to it than that. You're just going through killing hordes of Chaos Spawn, Chaos Demons, and Chaos Space Marines. And yeah, there are Chaos Terminators, there's Chaos Sorcerers, there's Great Unclean Ones, there's Lord of Changes. There's just loads of enemies. It's so good. Okay, so it's not all fantastic. The biggest issue the game has got is the boss fights are terrible. Now, I'm not going to spoil a lot of stuff here because I don't want to, like, wreck this for you guys, but yeah, this was one boss fight. You can see this Lord of Change is just kind of standing over there, and I'm like, oh. Now, I suppose you could say this is part of the charm of these style of games. You can sort of cheese them and get them into positions where you can do this kind of thing, but I think this takes away from it. Like, this boss doesn't really have any, let's say, exciting mechanics. He's just a big bullet sponge, and he's just kind of sitting there. Now, if he gets line of sight on me, he will set me on fire with some sort of warp fire madness, and it does a ton of damage to me, and it's not great. And it can feel often a little bit, well, like you've kind of been robbed. Now, here's another one. This is a Great Unclean One. Now, this is a multi-melter I'm shooting him with. Obviously, very high strength weapon. It's also glowing green. That means I've had it modified with +1 strength through a pickup that I, well, picked up throughout the mission. But what's he doing? He's just standing down there, and I'm just standing here literally blasting him from above, and he can't really do anything to me. Although I nearly died then because I walked through the acid because I'm a terrible gamer. But yeah, so it's not all roses. I think the moment-to-moment gameplay is fantastic. I think everything else is pretty good. The sound design, the way it feels to play as a Space Marine. But these bosses are just like, it's almost like they're an afterthought. I really wish they'd put more effort into them and made them properly challenging and properly difficult, because beyond just being a bullet sponge that stands there, they don't really offer anything else. Yeah, also it's pretty cute how all the corpses spin to you, like the 2D sprite of the corpses. That's very Doom. It's a great stylized choice. I love it. The map design is great. Obviously everything is a massive cathedral because that's what a 40k is. Now, it takes place on a Forge World, and it takes place on well, I won't spoil, but yeah, it's basically everything's a massive cathedral, which is awesome. It's got that 40k style everywhere you look. I think they've done a really great job. The maps are also surprisingly big, which I think really does help with the movement-based gameplay, because obviously you can run around. There's a big map. You can see here on this map, it's like a massive circle I'm running around. It looks crazy with all, like, chaos, contamination everywhere. It just looks amazing, right? Warp energy spilling out of the walls. Fantastic. Like, I think they've done a really, really great job. And I think the visual style, while it might not be to everyone's taste, because I know not everybody likes the sort of pixel art style, the retro look style, I think they've done, again, an incredible job. If you show this to somebody, I'm pretty sure they go, oh yeah, that looks like Warhammer 40k. And that's a really, really good thing. So yeah, I mean, I recommend this game. If you want to play a fast-paced FPS game, which is single player, there's no multiplayer in this, and you're probably going to get about 10 hours of gameplay out of it, 100% go for this. If you're a 40k fan, you absolutely have to buy this. It's one of the best 40k games. it makes you feel like a Space Marine. I've said it time and time again throughout this video, but it really, really does. It feels so goddamn good. I mean, look at these aspiring champions running towards me. I'm just destroying them with a heavy bolter. It's great. Is there any better feeling in the universe? I don't think so. It's so good. Now, I do hope that they maybe bring out a sequel or bring out some DLC, give us some additional maps, give us some additional levels, maybe a new campaign, more enemies. It'd be nice to see different weapon types as well. There's tons of weapons in the 40k universe, and we only get like, what, 8 or so here. It would be nice to get more weapons, but I think this is a really good effort from the devs here. Really good stuff. All right, guys, I've been Stylosa. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, let me know what you think about this in the comments below. I highly recommend this game, especially if you're a fan of 40k. You will not be disappointed. It is super good. Oh, dear.